It's showtime. All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. So
Hello.
I have our
Hi.
I have our crew, our galactic crew. We have Ascension, Superpowers, Crystal Dragon, Anita, and Chris. You can put your she's got the mic on. Okay. So anyway, it's been a really interesting time since we last saw everyone, and we've been busy bees. And for the people that haven't watched before, uh, we are, uh, you know, paired up. We're independent, but then we work together. And we bring all of our special gifts together, and we've been activating each other, and we've been growing exponentially. There's all kinds of crazy new energy for this year. It started to come in at the end of last year. I know I've been affected. And, the series that's being produced right now on my channel um, is activating me as I am producing the videos. And I can't speak for Crystal and Chris. What's going on over there is they're releasing activations, short videos on TikTok. So they've been helping me get myself over there to bring, mix the two different audiences for the two platforms. And then Anita is our kind of like she's operating has been as almost as a counselor, at least, helping me at least get in touch with aspects of my higher self and my iterations that I didn't know about. And I've been doing chakra clearings with her. We started last week. So that was tremendous. And what's happened since then is all kinds of, things have been occurring in my face-to-face life, not just online. So that's where I've been, just to share and introduce the topic, which is ascension and dimensions and chakras, because it's all related to the work that you've been seeing on my channel, on this channel here. And so I'd like to just start off with Lisa, Crystal Dragon, excuse me. She's going to kill me. Anyway, Crystal.
Hey, everybody. I just want to thank you for having us here tonight on behalf of Ascension Superpowers. I just want to encourage everyone here tonight about your superpowers. So many people are asking us, what are our superpowers? You have superpowers. Okay. I can assure you. I'm going to give you an example. Did you ever have a deja vu where you sense a moment in your life just happened? And you're like, oh my gosh, that just happened. That is a short time to capture the essence of an event because it actually did happen. What is going on in our timeline right now is we're overstimulated by the chase that makes you forget your heart. So it's time to be co-creative with the universe. And when you do this, your superpowers and your giftings will actually open up right before your eyes. So I want to encourage everyone here tonight to remember the magic that we've forgotten. And having said that, in the last couple weeks, while I was meditating, beginning to go to sleep, I actually felt my light body activate. I can't, there aren't really words here to describe it, but I felt it come out of my heart space and almost like a freezing cold wave go across my chest area. And right at that moment, I was able to step out of my body and I could see it laying there on the bed. And at that point, I thought, literally by thinking, could go any place I wanted to go. So I went and saw my different horses that were in my pasture. And like one of them had I was communicating with them, but in a cellular way, not more of a cellular telepathy than a telepathy. So I knew and I could sense that he had things on his legs. So I immediately used my hands and put a whole white aura and wrapped him in it. And I went from this horse to that horse to another horse. And I moved around in my light body just in the blink of an eye, but quicker. it was merely a thought and I could be there. From there, then I took my light body, my consciousness. I went and I saw my daughter who was pregnant, and I was able to communicate with her baby, my grandbaby that was actually in her womb, which was amazing. And he heard me and I could hear him. And from there, I went and saw another one of my children. And I literally could just think of where I wanted to go, and I was there. Then after that, I went into my body through my pineal gland, my third eye. And in that area, I have a universe that I've created there. In that universe, it's full of whales and dolphins. So I'll expound on this more later. But when I go in there, I turned into another celestial being, which is a mermaid. I was able to interact and give light codes to the whales and the dolphins. After doing that, then I turned into a whale and I went to breach the water. And as I breached the water and came out of the water, I went back into my light body form and went on to my missions for the night. So this is something that, I mean, this is becoming very regular for me. Some people call it astral projection. But you can pretty much go anywhere you want and do whatever your heart's desire is. And you can interact with loved ones. You can do, like I said, I mean, especially the ones that are in the womb. It was really amazing that I was able to interact with my grandchild that wasn't even born yet, as well as animals. And I just want to encourage you that if I can do this, you can do this too. And your frequency is 100% of it. You have to really focus on your frequency. So I'll turn the mic over to whoever's next.
Anita, it's time. It's time. Oh, I got you muted. Hold on. Oh, you got it. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, yeah, because my mic's been being kind of weird. So what's been happening is I'm Anita, and I'm also with Ascension Superpowers. And we called it Superpowers because it always felt like that's what everybody kind of connects into, superpowers. But really, there are natural gifts that we just didn't know that we had or haven't been able to access because we've been living in such a density here on planet Earth. So it's really about coming back to who we are, who we really are, our authentic selves. And that's what Crystal Dragon's talking about, is like the more you raise yourself up in frequency, the more you realize that you have this authentic self that is so much more than you ever thought it could be. So, can you still hear me, Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It just got weird on the screen for me. So I think, no, it's okay. I just didn't know if my thing did something weird because my monitor's been flickering. So kind of weird things like that happen. But I just want to say a big thank you to everyone thank you for doing the work. Thank you for holding the light, because it helps the whole collective. And I know that Crystal Dragon, Chris, and I and Melissa are really happy to be here to talk live with everybody, kind of give our information that we've got to give you, and also to hear your questions and see if we can possibly answer and help people out. So thank you, Melissa, for giving us this opportunity.
My pleasure. Oh my God, go. Chris, I think it's your turn. It's me. No, I'm messing up your schedule. Okay. Well, Anita, we were wondering, we thought maybe overview some experiences, the blockages, meditations, activation, and heart space. If you wanted to chime in on those topics or whatever's, needed for us to hear, this would be a good time, because she's got some time allocated to you for a lot of time. We're all like going quickly, so we might go through twice the schedule and come back if you just want to move on.
So the overview, it's important for people to know that we have an energy system, And within our body, we have 7 chakras that are in a line. This is called, the Japanese call the Hara line. It's known by other names, but it's basically a line of energy that connects us to a source and then down to Gaia. And then we have 7 chakras. And if you've been looking at Ascension Superpowers, I know that you can do a solar activation, which helps you with your DNA, which helps basically your DNA connect to also your chakras. Your chakras connect to the dimensions and make us multi-dimension beings. We also have a Taurus system in which our energy, if this is sort of my middle line here, we have energy that is going around us. And this is the light body that Crystal Dragon was talking about. This is actually part of our light body. It's also known as the Merkaba, and it's the light body, and it's your energy system. And as it activates, this is when you start feeling the connection to the higher realms. You start to augment any psychic gifts or superpowers that you have or didn't know that you had. And it's because we're becoming our higher selves through the use of our energy system. So if you have blockages, it's like your car having a carburetor that's not working. If your carburetor doesn't work, your engine's going to be spotty. It might go, it might turn over, it might not. And so that's how the energy system is too, as well. And what causes blockages? Well, traumas, any density that we're holding. Density is basically energy that's slowed down to such a point that it's really not even moving. Sort of like form, we're energy that's slowed down to the point where we're actually appear to be this physical sort of hard, like I could feel myself. But that's because our energy slowed down to such a low rate. We have this hard, dense energy that is accumulated in our cells, in our chakras, and in our different elements of our bodies, our light bodies. We have a physical body, we have a mental body, we have an emotional body, and then we have our spiritual or astral or etheric body. And we can hold density in any level of our light body and in any bit of our chakras that we have. This is 7 of them, from basically our groin area all the way up to the top of our head. The work for Ascension is remove density, which allows our container of energy to be able to hold more light. The more light you are, the higher in frequency, the more you rise up toward the higher levels of existence. And so that's kind of a quick overview of sort of our chakra system. And we have the ability to be able to cleanse and clear, release, and hold more light. And as you do, you feel better. Your body starts to work better because your body's part of the system too. So you start to feel more healthy. You are holding more energy, and you're able to navigate your life in an easier way because you're not attached to all those little things that used to just trigger you and send you off or bring you down or somehow affect you in a negative way. Now you can kind of be above that because you're at a higher frequency and your chakras are firing at a higher level. And this allows you to be able to navigate your life in a much more spiritually higher level, in your day, which is, it's nice. It's really nice when you feel that, because you're like, oh gosh, it feels so nice not to have all these triggers all day long, things bringing you down, things that get in your way, always feeling like you have obstacles and blockages in your way. Because once you change your frequency, you also invite that frequency in to your life. So as you go up in frequency, you also invite that frequency into your life, which means that you're having these wonderful new people in your life, new situations, new things that are better for you, that are happy, like things you couldn't even imagine. It's like, oh my gosh, this has just come into my life. Well, you changed your frequency and you allowed that into your life now because you're vibrating at a higher rate. So there's a whole new avenue of things available to you at this higher rate. And as soon as you start vibrating at a lower frequency, you feel it. A lot of times you feel it right here in your gut and your solar plexus, and you go, ugh, that is not comfortable. And it's because you're realizing that something brought your frequency down. somebody said something to you, you saw something, anything that sort of triggered you to bring your frequency down, and now you can feel it. And then one of the things that I find really helpful when I'm in that situation is I just envision just bringing down love and joy into my entire body and filling it, and just pushing out whatever it is that brought my frequency down. And I find myself raising my frequency that way really quickly. So it's a little tidbit of little Anita info there. But there are meditations and activations all throughout YouTube. On Ascension Superpowers, we've got some solar activations. I have a heart space. We developed a heart space activation and a root activation. Those will be really helpful to get started. On the TikTok that we're connected to, which is, I believe it's Ascension, Guardian Ascension.
Guardian
Which one?
underscore
Commander, right?
Underscore Guardian.
Guardian. Yeah. That is TikTok. Sorry about that.
Commander
Crystal Dragon. Yeah. Crystal Dragon and Chris have been putting out amazing activations on all different levels of your energy body, whether it's your chakras, your different levels of ascension. So I would say those are some really good tools to use to work with your energy system, especially if it's something you're not super comfortable with. Maybe it's new information that you're just relearning, because all of us know this. We just are remembering, because we've forgotten what our bodies are really like, because this is real, what's around us. And as you experience cleansing and clearing, releasing and increasing your frequency and seeing how your life changes because of it, you realize how real it truly is. So does any Crystal Dragon, Chris, Melissa, do you want to add anything to that right now? I have a couple personal experiences I wanted to go through, but before I went to do that, I wanted to see if anybody wanted to add anything.
I want to just add that when you talked about the horror line, which is it's a shaft of light. Now when we start a meditation, we call in source energy. It's an electric current. So we have an electromagnetic field. That's what makes it come out in a big circle and come back up to the horror line. It's
the torus.
Yeah,
the torus.
Right, the toroidal field. So it's electromagnetic. So it's constantly there's a current, like when you take the picture of your body with the cerulean photography, you can see the aura or the hands. You can feel it if you rub your hands together real fast, and then you make the ball. You can sort of feel it. You can't see it necessarily yet. We're still very dense right now, but that could change any second. Some people can see things, but more than others. It's whatever it is. But just to let them know, it was a magnetic, like the energy of the earth is magnetic, and the solar energy is positive, negative. It's reflection of duality, which is the third dimension, which of course we're in the fourth, but who's counting?
It's still there. It's still
yeah. It's kind of flowing back and forth. Yeah. So anyway, that was all I wanted to say. Go ahead, and anybody else, and then you can go right ahead. Continue, please. You can continue.
Crystal Dragon, Chris, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you explained it really well, Anita. Good job.
Well, thank you.
So I always love hearing Anita explain these things. She always makes me feel normal.
I know, right? I know, because I have, the weird updates by
We
Anita,
love her so much.
So in terms of some personal experiences I've had. So what I did was I went into my heart space, and I've been spending, that's what kind of made me decide to do the meditation, is because I was spending a lot of time there. And I was inviting in the angelics. I was inviting in the elementals. I decided to redecorate. So I said, go at it and redecorate. And my whole heart space, it turned into a universe. And it was the realization that each one of our chakras is actually an infinite space. And this is where we truly are infinite, multidimensional beings. It's through our energy system that we can navigate the multiverses and the, interdimensionals and our parallel, universes and parallel lives. It all is connected directly in to our chakras. And so I had this amazing experience of just building this heart space. I mean, I have part of the ocean in there with whales and dolphins and belugas and you name it. I invited in the unicorns. They needed asylum. They wanted a place to stay. So I called them in and they came in and they have a sanctuary there. And what's interesting too is it's also the place where I started to find myself feeling more and more of the integrations for my soul. This is part of Ascension, as well as learning your energy system to vibrate at a higher rate. The other part is to remember who we are by literally like stacking Legos together. Each of those Legos being a fractal or a piece of our soul that has experience. Like Anita is a fractal of my soul that's having the Anita experience. And I've had experiences like if you listen to live last time we were on, you met Donegal, who is a fractal having the experience of my soul as Donegal. So we have all these pieces of ourselves. And part of the ascension process is to remember who we've been, who we are. And it all happens at once, which is really interesting to with the space-time continuum. There's no real future or past. Everything's happening in the present now. So you're pulling all those pieces of yourself together, and it happens really, everything happens through ascension, through the heart. The heart bridges the density of the lower chakras and then the lightness of the higher chakras. And this is our bridge. And it's sort of our center and connection to our authentic self. And that's an important part of ascension, is just remembering who you are. So I wound up meeting Igmar, who's one of the commanders in the Ashtar command. And he is like really super good friends with Ashtar and also Iltrin, who is part of Crystal Dragon's higher self. So I remember sort of being on the ship, one of the ships, and I was supposed to be going back into my body. And I was standing there and Igmar.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that in the last 2 days or was that another time?
No, this has been a while ago. This has been a while
ago.
Okay.
This is a normal activity for us, Melissa.
Yeah. I know, right?
This is very normal.
And he stepped up on this light box. And on top of the light box is this metal plate. And he's standing on the metal plate. And I was like, dude, like, why are you standing there? Because I was annoyed with him because I had to go back to my body and I didn't really want to go back. And he's like, well, it's time for you to go back. And I said, well, what are you doing? And he goes, well, this is how you step down back into your body. This makes it easier for you to bring your frequency down and go back into your body. Because those times, like you remember, like when you go back in your body and you jump, or other times when you wake up and you find that you've got like bruises on you or marks, like where did these come from? I didn't have them before I went to bed, but I woke up like, what was I kicking around? Was I beating up somebody in my sleep? And what he told me was, no, it's frequency. And if you move down frequency too quickly, it's more than your body can handle. So there's some kind of physical repercussion that you'll see on your body, a mark, a bruise, something like that. And he was showing me. You guys
remember, I just want to chime in here real quick. Dolores Cannon talks about this all the time, that if you come back too quick, you will have bruises because you haven't had, you're changing ascension. You're changing dimensional levels. So it's very normal to have bruises. You wake up and you're like, wait, where did that come from? So sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to let them know that, yeah, this is normal.
This is normal. Yeah. And so he was on this tech that allowed for me to bring my through, because we're connected, because he's actually, I'm a fractal. We're fractals, the same soul. So he was like letting me, helping me to come down in level. And then I just was back in my body. And I remember they let me remember that. And then another time, they also have these wristbands that they wear, and they look like watches, but they're not watches. What they are is they are frequency meters. So they can read the frequency of a room. They can read the frequency of a specific person, of a situation, and they can also use it to help step down if they or step up if they need to physically do that in their in their 7D bodies, because these guys that we're talking about are working in the 7th dimension, mostly 5th and 7th dimension, the commanders. Sometimes they work with the higher dimensions as well, but their bodies can like move between the 5th and the 7th. Wouldn't you say that, Crystal Dragon?
Absolutely. It's a lot
Commander.
easier to go up than it is to come down.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And
And so
I understand the Pleiadians like to hang out in the 7th dimension. Just, I don't know if I picked it up from Michael Love's material or I knew that from someplace else, but I've seen that around 7D.
because it's easier.
Pleiadian.
Because
Yeah.
we're
Kinda like-
we're under the we're under the impression that the duality is completely gone in the 5th dimension. And from what they've told me, there are still some levels of duality that are occurring in the lower 5th dimension.
Mhm.
And then when you get up to the higher 5th, that's when you really start to see that they are truly in unity consciousness and they're not in duality. What do I mean by that? Duality means that you think in terms of black and white, good and bad. When you get up in frequency, you start to see things from a soul level in which you see maybe that's not really bad. Maybe it's somebody playing a part to give you a teaching moment so that you can learn from it and then raise your frequency, have that experience. And you learn it's not really good and bad. It's just different experiences that allow you to learn. And in the higher levels, it's unity consciousness. And when you get there, you can read each other, like you could read each other's frequencies. And I'm going like this because I actually can see frequencies through my third eye, like a barcode, like usually on a person's where their heart chakra is. And I can, they've shown me how to do that and how to read that. So I've been learning how to do that. And
Actually,
so people,
Even
Anita was
scanning
teaching
people.
us. Anita was
Scanning.
teaching us how to do it. Yeah. Yeah. And that
and
was
you
like
did
our
it.
game.
I mean, I was the only
Yeah,
one, and
we were
Crazy.
we were actually playing a game. Okay, what color do you see? And we're like, what color do you
Right.
see? And we're like, we're all seeing the same color. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. But we were actually reading their barcodes and reading their frequencies by
Reading-
just simply tapping
Knowing.
into their essence.
Yeah. And so some of us can see it. Some of us can see it through a third eye. Others of us is intuitive, but it's a definite part of our human experience. We do this all the time. We read each other all the time. But now when you read each other consciously, you can actually pinpoint things in a much deeper level because you really can see where the other person's coming from. And in the higher dimensions, they don't have a barrier between each other.
You know what, Anita? Another thing in the higher dimensions, we don't go by names, we go by frequency.
Right.
That's why,
Right.
think about in the Bible when the angel, I think it was with Esau, he said, why do you ask my name? Why do you care about my name? Because the names aren't important. You will actually learn to identify your guides by their frequencies. You'll feel them. You'll know them. It's a knowing.
Right.
But I
Right.
also wanted to say too about the frequency. This is how you know if you're getting closer to 5D. Time is moving faster. The higher dimension, the quicker time moves. That's how you know.
And it gets
Go
to
ahead,
the
I'm
point where
sorry.
it's like moving quicker, but at the same time, it's almost like same time, not to be a pun, but it almost feels like there isn't time. You're starting to be able to pull yourself out of that third, fourth dimensional aspect of what time is, which is different. But that's a really cool thing to remember. Chris, did you want to say something about time? Because I know you've had some really interesting time experiences.
Well, I was just gonna kind of mention I got a call from Crystal Dragon a couple of days ago, and she's like, "Say something, and I'm like, "Okay," and I said, a sentence. She's like, "Oh, I can understand you," because she said what she's experiencing right now is some people she just can't understand, and I'm actually witnessing that as well. you see two people talking, but they're almost like there's a glitch and they just can't understand the conversation, and you see them both getting frustrated, and actually one person said it's like we're in a different time warp
Dimension.
timeline. And yeah, I was just like, I almost did a double take when they said that, because is exactly what I was thinking in my head. That I mean, I'm seeing two timelines right now that have we started? Because just a question for you guys to comment and chat. I walk into a room and I know how I'm feeling. I don't watch the news, but then I hear people talking, oh my God, this is happening, that's happening. I'm like, not my timeline, because it's not affecting me at all. So if you allow that stuff in, it's dropping your frequency. And it's making you, yeah, go ahead,
timeline.
Anita. Yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, it drops your timeline because frequency and timelines are connected. So the higher frequency you go, the higher you can go in your timelines. And in the higher timelines, you don't have all that duality of all the negative thinking. Oh, possible nuclear war, or who's going to do, all those, all the things that are happening that you hear in the news, they're not happening in the higher timelines.
Right. And one thing that we've been doing, and I'm pretty sure everyone, all four of us have been doing this, when something happens that's just so off the chart, we're just like, not my timeline. Maybe that's in your timeline, but, I'm seeing rainbows and butterflies in mine. Kind of sarcastic on my part, because that's pretty much where I'm at. But anyways, that's all I wanted to add.
I agree. I was in a group chat, whatever, it was a meeting, and some of the folks were and this is just for the people that are on here. You are consciousness without the meat suit. That's what we are. In fact, the first regression I ever had, I was like floating out in space looking at Earth, and I was like, what am I doing out here? And then there were like a bunch of twinkling planets to my right, and I was like looking over there, and they were like, we're your family. Hello, it's us. Do you remember us? And I'm looking at them, twinkle, twinkle, little star. There were like 7 of them. I think it was the Pleiades, but I didn't know it at the time. And, I looked down and there was nothing there. I didn't have a body. I wasn't like floating in a body. It was like their consciousness. So, the first video in this Pleiadian series is consciousness. What they do is, the whole series is very easy to understand. It's easy to understand just written, and then now there's a video to match. So it's easy to take in the information, and then, you can apply it to your life. It's expansive, and it'll happen quickly, because that's where we are. There's a choice. It depends on your consciousness. All right. Do you want to tune into something that's sort of, talking about things that can get people angry? Or do you want to tune into things that make you feel good? And, like you want to do stuff inspiring? Do you want to go for the lower frequency or the higher? It's your choice. We all have a choice. So it can be upsetting watching some of the other stuff, and it's not good for you. So, we talk about eating right and, exercise and all these other things. Well, your consciousness needs attention also. It's, what are you nourishing? What are you bringing into your field? Are you listening to music that makes you feel tense, or are you listening to music that makes you feel, expansive? So it's very important, not only food, but information. What type of information are you taking in? What type of music are you listening to? What kind of conversations are you having? What kind of people are you around? Because it's all vibration. It's frequency, as Anita says, but, we all have these choices. And as we are on this, accelerated evolutionary, peak, we're in a peak where there are photons coming into our atmosphere, and we're in a part of the galaxy where, because it's orbit, right? So we're in an area where there are much higher frequency. They're solar particles that are coming in, and they're affecting us even at night. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. You know, they're in the atmosphere. They're upgrading us. They're activating our DNA. We have pictures of DNA everywhere. So, you know, it's coming online. We have 2 strands, you know, we have had them for a long time, but we really started out with 12-strand DNA, and 12 is the magic number. And they're coming back online. So don't be afraid if you start to feel differently. You can come here. You can contact us. You can come in, you know, to our websites or our, social media areas and message us. Whatever way, you know, if you start to experience things, at least you have a place to come, you know. So that's all I wanted to say. Anita, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was important for the audience there. So
No, there's absolutely no interruption. No interruption. I'm just looking at some of the comments here and questions people have. So I know we were going to go into looking at some things that you were going to say, Chris. Can we just move a little bit into maybe able to answer a couple of questions, or maybe Crystal Dragon?
Go for it.
Okay. So one of the things that Carrie asks is, what does Ascension actually entail for Earthlings? And I just want you guys to hold on to that, because we're going to talk more about it. And I actually have a channel that came through from me from the Universal Guardians that I wanted to share. And I think I would do that more toward the end. But Ascension is basically getting rid of the density that's in your mind, your body, your soul, and your programs that we have from the third, dimension that we've been programmed to believe. These are programmed beliefs that we have to let go of, because any belief is a limitation. Like, I'll give you one, like dutiful daughter, or hard worker, like all these belief systems that we have that we've got programmed. So learning to let go of them, you do that through working through your energy system. Your chakras will show you where you've got programmed beliefs that you can let go of. And as you get higher in frequency, you'll start to see it, and you'll start to go, oh, well, that's a program. I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, that's a duality belief system. I'm not going to do that. Oh, I'm living in, that was something I said because I'm in fear. Look at that for a minute, and you let it go. So the more conscious you are of it, the more that you can start letting all these densities go. So think about it as ballast. We're in this sailboat. The sailboat's doing great. We've got this ballast that sort of holds us in the water. And then we start to let go of the ballast. And then we become a ship that's not just floating on the water, but is actually like flying in the sky. And we learn to fly. And that's kind of what our light bodies do. We can fly. We can use our light bodies to go through the multi-dimensions and be interdimensional. So that's what we're moving toward, is being at a higher frequency. And that's the ascension, is ascending up to higher frequencies. Sort of a quick thing. Another person has said that they feel really alone. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of us do feel throughout this whole process, is it feels lonely. The more you go within, and the more you get connected to source and who you are connected to source, the less lonely you're going to feel, because you're going to realize you are everything, and it's all inside of you. And when you start to recognize it and meet it, I mean, it's kind of like meeting a new friend, and you sort of new relationship inside of yourself. And then you start to blossom and realize, I am. And then you meet other people who are having that same frequency, and realize that you have a whole connection to people out there that, you really aren't alone. But I do want to say, big time, the universe loves you incredibly. Source loves you. We all love you. You are not alone. And it's one of the messages that came through for the Universal Guardians as well. So I guess that's kind of Commander Ashtar. So Carrie asks, who's Commander Ashtar? So I am going to let Crystal Dragon answer that question because she is really connected through Commander Iltrin to the Ashtar command.
Iltrin System. And about 15 paragraphs to explain the position, but it's very interesting.
Okay. Wow. There's several commanders on here tonight. And I am a commander. I am Commander Iltron System of the Galactic Starship Moonrise Awakening. I am an Octurian male gender in that realm. I'm also another commander in a 6th dimensional. I run a light ship, female gender, Pixitry. As you know, Anita is a commander. We hang out with Commander Ashtar in the higher realms. And so we're all buddies up there. And it's funny because we're all males up there. So you kind of got to think outside of your boxes as far as males and females, because it's really a moot point once you get past a certain dimension. These are just avatars. Just like you see the dragon of me. I'm a dragon, and I was a dragon for Merlin. And I recently achieved my crystalline dragon. I used to be a different color. And as you grow in the spirit and as you become more of your I am, you learn these things and you will actually align with your tribe. And it's so funny because like I started finding so many dragons kept coming to me. And like when you connect with them, it triggers more and more memories. And you're like, oh my gosh, I remember that. And that's why I like to just sit and listen to the ladies talk because it triggers my memories. And I get so excited when I hear, Anita talking about the things we do up there and what we go through. And we actually like joke with each other. Because Ashtar, he's from a more well-to-do galaxy. We come from really, you can tell I'm Anita. Our backgrounds are really different than what you think. So go ahead, Anita. You can give them the backgrounds. It's kind of funny. I like I said,
Yeah.
I prefer to listen, but I will tell you, I do the channel through my higher self through Iltron. So I do the Ashtar channel. So you know.
Yes, and so he's one of. I have my commander self is called Igmar, and he is from he's Palladian, but he is from one of the, I guess you'd call it more like desert type planets, where they usually have two ways that they go toward raising their frequencies and going through ascension. They either go like the spiritual sort of monk type path, or they go the warrior path. And he went the warrior path. So he's got like double swords and he's a big time warrior. And his particular clan is a warrior clan. So it's not surprising that he chose to be a warrior. He didn't have to be. He could have been, the monk type, but he chose to be a warrior. And what he does is their clan protects.
He always carries his swords around. Is what he
always
does.
He always has them. It's like
they're always strapped on his back. It's hilarious.
He does. He's always got his double swords right there. He's always got them on. Always, no matter what he's doing. I'm like, do you sleep with them? And he wouldn't tell me. So,
but they're not regular swords. They're not regular swords. They're like lightsabers.
They're light swords.
Lightsabers.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have they're a different type of tech. They do have a cutting edge, but they also, like Melissa was talking about, the electromagnetic energies and light plasma is part of the technology for those swords. But he doesn't carry guns, he carries swords.
It's like Jedi. It's the same idea as Jedi. I mean, that's the truth. That's stuff.
It is.
They were downloading. Yeah, the artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Anita, remember you were talking to him. You said, "Why don't you just carry a gun?" Remember? And he was like laughing at you.
Yeah, he actually got offended, but he was like, no idea what swords are about. And he just he was laughing at me. He's like, and then he kind of was in my mind like showing me stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you kind of are badass. So all right, I get it. And he was showing me like, you know, he went completely like Jedi Knight on me with the sword. And I said, okay, all right, yeah, they're pretty cool. And then I thought, well, that's really neat though. Actually, I'd like to learn how to do that. And he went, yeah, I don't think so. But he comes from this harsh planet, and it's meant to help them to really focus their energies toward being a warrior or being a spiritual, you know, of the spiritual journey. And his job, his clan, is to protect what are known as the cedar or the progenitor races. And these are beings, really ancient beings that have actually gone, they're the ones that created our planet, like literally came in and they seed people, but they also seed the celestial bodies like the planets as well as people, as beings. So so he hangs out with Iltrin and Ashtar. Ashtar came from a well-to-do family, so they always kind of mess with it because they all went through boot camp together. They went through like what you think of with Star Wars, where they have, you know, like the Federation Academy, where they learn to be in the Galactic Federation, they learn to be officers. So they all went together. So Ashtar came from more of a well-to-do family, and then and he's also from a different area. Like he comes from the Orion area, where Iltrin and Igmar are from the Pleiades. They're Pleiadian, and so they're best friends, and they bug each other. They rip on each other, but they're very, very serious about their job, about helping humanity, and about being what they're doing as their missions for the Galactic Federation and for the universe. So it's really interesting to connect in with those parts of yourself, because then all of a sudden you find out things like that and you go, okay, where's my tinfoil hat and the crazy train? Because that sounds really like seriously. But then, you know, you talk to, you know, Crystal Dragon and Chris and I and Melissa, we all talk, and then we activate each other, and we'll get memories of when we're sleeping, like, oh my gosh, I had part of that was part of my dream, or to remember something. So when you find the people that you start to resonate with in frequency, then you can start having these conversations and you activate each other. And that's part of the puzzle. We're not meant to ascend by ourselves. We're doing it as a group together, and we all hold pieces that are part of this big puzzle that we're sort of plug in together. Okay, Catherine, is the cedar race dying out? Cedar, like it's not that kind of cedar race. It's like a plant seed, SEEDER. And no, they're not dying out. It's not like the gray race that went on a different timeline and then they messed up their DNA and then they were dying out. That's different. These are, they also call them the progenitors, which means those who came before. So what they do is they are these huge beings of energy that work directly with source to create galaxies and solar systems and planets. It's part of the sort of the mind of God. Yeah, the builder race.
Builder race. So you heard David Wilcock talk about this.
Yes.
You know, the builder
absolutely.
races. Builder races, same deal.
Because God is constantly wanting to expand to, or source to have more experience. And so we're constantly finding that, you know, existence is expanding as we create more universes and more layers and more of everything. So they're part of that.
More
and
onion.
He protects the
more
I
onion
wasn't
layers.
But he showed me that there is a particular place on this planet where they are in stasis, and he is constantly going down there, Igmar, to check on them and to connect in with them. They're quote unquote bodies, because they're in a different dimension, are in stasis, but their consciousness is very much alive and very much part of helping Gaia, our world, our planet, with her issues, to help her clear and release and ascend just like we are, and they're helping us too. But that's part of what Igmar is there to do, is to protect them. So,
And that's one of your iterations, just to clarify.
that's one of my iterations,
Fragment.
right? Commander Igmar. Yep.
Dying to know who my galactic iteration is, because she's got to be hanging out with you people, and Chris too, right? We don't know Chris yet.
We don't know yet, so it's a matter of you guys have to find that fractal and connecting with that fractal so that you can find that out. It's coming.
It's a secret.
I know.
But as we do this, like for me, the chakra clearings, I mean, 13 years of heavy duty, inner work, right? And there's still stuff. Anita helped me last week we're going up through my chakra. So we started with root. And I can't even believe what's happened in the last 7 days. Just people coming. I had other people coming at the end of the year. I wasn't even started on my chakras again yet, right? So there's always something, to be done. No one's ever finished. You're not done like, oh, got it done.
Yeah, Ascension doesn't stop.
Doesn't happen like that.
No.
So yeah. Chris, would you like to share with us?
Sure. All right. So everyone is at different levels, right? So anyone listening to these ladies here have some really fantastic stories, but if you're not at the same level that they are, that's okay. And I have to say that hanging around with Crystal Dragon, Anita, and Melissa, sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm not having that experience, but then something else will happen, it's just different, they might be going out fighting whoever in the middle of the night, and I'm sitting on a beach somewhere. But I did want to share the videos that we do. I can't even tell you how much energy and love that we put in them. I mean, it's our escape from 3Ds. If you have a 3D job that you're working, it literally helps us. And I think I put it in their chat. You'll find light language in there. So light codes, you'll find frequency music. You'll find we've taped audio at the ocean, at the river. So we put as much of that energy into these videos for y'all. And I'm hoping you guys are feeling it. Because when we make them, we just have such a blast making them. And we do have a big one that's going to drop tomorrow. It looks like somebody already dropped the secret down there, but we're excited about that. But I wanted to share one of the things. We have a mermaid activation on ours. And as I'm making these videos, I rewatched this listening to the light language and the codes, like probably 10 times for one of these videos. And I had I went into my heart space. So if you don't know how to do that, Anita has this fantastic heart chakra activation on our YouTube channel, and it will teach you how to go in your heart space, because she's the one that taught me. And so I go into my heart space, and Jack was there. So Jack is one of my guides. He's a giant. Yes, I don't think I'm crazy. he's one of my guides, and I'm like, can you take me to the ocean, because it's too far for me to walk. So he takes me to the ocean. It's just a couple steps because he's like 40 feet high. And we get there, and there's this whale breaching out of the ocean. So I go and I jump in. I'm going to go swim with the whale. And I turn into this mermaid for the first time ever. So it's so exciting that I'm in there swimming with the whale, and I decide to just swim straight down. So I go down. As I'm going down to the bottom of the ocean, there's this huge crystal castle that starts to light up the closer I get. And then I walk inside it, and I get my legs back. So I'm back to just being my normal person. And I'm hearing all this light language. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I don't remember all of it. I remember one word, Kiwashia, which means pure love. So I'm sending that out to all of you. But as I'm walking through this castle, it's made of clear quartz, and I could actually see the ocean and the animals like I'm looking through a glass window. And then I look, and there's steps going down. And there was a guide there showing me around, and she says, oh, that's the inner earth, but we didn't go that route. And then as I'm walking through the castle, we walked past this one room, and my niece was she was sleeping in there. So I go in there, wake her up. I'm like, let's go swimming, and so it was kind of exciting because then we went swimming as mermaids, and I did bring back that one little piece of light language, Kiwashia. So that's my story. I just want to share it with y'all.
Oh, Chris, could you just explain what light language is, or anyone can jump on that one? Or start with it. You brought it up a couple of times, and some people may not know exactly what that is.
So light language is the language of your soul, and Anita and Crystal Dragon helped me out because I'm kind of new to it. But you'll see different people doing it on TikTok and stuff, and it's different for everyone. And when I heard, I don't remember all of it, so it can activate you in different ways. But when I did bring that little bit back, I asked my guides, I'm like, well, what does this mean? And they said it, they actually interpreted it for me. But Anita and Crystal Dragon, jump in here at any point. Save me.
Okay, I'll jump in. Anita can translate. You ready? Bushigia hayato olama ayushuko halebane shigia papa.
I'm just getting an image of a big heart, and love and greetings to you all from within.
Yep.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
got.
Is that simple,
Did that
guys?
That was the live, phenomenon you just saw. Not rehearsed, just heart-based.
And what light language does is there sometimes comes directly from your soul. Sometimes you can channel from different races, which kind of is like through you too, because we're kind of connected to all the races out there. And we can get specific activations. Like I know Crystal Dragon's gotten activations to activate Lyran DNA and your spirit animal. So you can directly, mermaids, you can get direct information for light activation. And what it does is it does help other people activate certain things. It's like bringing in specific light codes. And sometimes there will be like movements that are part of light language too, which helps often integrate it into your that physical body that we're talking about and your energetic body. These movements help the light codes do what they need to do, like whatever that movement happens to be that will help the light language activation. So that's what that is.
And just want to say, biblically, light language is a language. It's an angelic language that the lower frequencies cannot comprehend. They can't understand it. So to us, it sounds like it's a mixture of maybe an Oriental language mixed in with original indigenous population type of a thing. It might sound like that to our ear, but it's not gibberish because it's embedded with codes. Like, so is the sun's rays. The ones that are coming in now that blasting Earth and everything else around us, our entire universe is going through an ascension process, and so is the galaxy, and so are the constellations, and so is our solar system, and so is our planet. So it's really, there's sort of a cosmological hierarchy, and it all blends in together. Quote, someone things are blending together, including the timelines.
The other thing for people who do have a religious background, sometimes it's also referred to as speaking in tongues. It's actually it's light language too. Yeah. Okay. So it's actually been around for forever. You're basically, you're channeling.
I believe it's 1 Corinthians 14. It's in 1 Corinthians. I think it's 14 sticks in my mind. About the speaking
Crystal
in
Dragon
tongues.
She is our biblical scholar. So
yeah,
she's very
first. I studied it in multiple languages, so I know a little bit about it.
Amazing.
It's in Acts too. It comes through. That the spirit came through and blasted all the doors open, and
Well, that
Yeah.
was what Pentecost, when
yeah,
the
Pentecost.
tongues of fire
Right.
came
The
down.
tongues of fire on the
Basically,
head. That's right.
It opened people's crown chakras up so they could connect into the higher realms, and then they brought down light language. Yep. So I don't know if this is a good time. Do you want me to connect in with the channel that I got for
Oh
us
yeah,
for our,
definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
okay. So I connected in with they came to me, the Universal Guardians, the Light Council of Protectors. And just to give you a little bit of a background, when I created this heart space, I made like this whole world inside. And when I gave asylum to the unicorns, two beings came in. One came in looking like a bear, another one like a lion, or like a large cat. And I knew that wasn't exactly what they were, but they said, this is who we're going to present ourselves to you as. And I said, fine. You know, obviously either my human brain wasn't going to be able to connect into what they were, or it just wasn't time for me to know. So when I got this channel, the bear being came to me and he told me about these universal guardians. And he said, our council governs this 12-dimensional branch of this universe, the harmonic bearing of 3.0279 degrees. We are housed in the Andromedan galaxy in the house of Argyle, a lineage that is very connected to planet Gaia. He says, I am Vestus. So that's now he was presenting himself as who he is. From the star cluster known as the ancient Egyptian group, the lion between the two crocodiles and the bird. My home star is Alpha Aurigae, also known as Capella. It's also known in our modern day astronomy as Auriga, the charioteer constellation. And he said, we have been observing as physically as possible through the heart and throat spaces afforded us as sanctuary by this lovely one, Anita. I was like, oh, thank you. It has allowed us to discern much, as you would say, boots on the ground. And he starts laughing. Mm-hmm. So what is basically saying is that they were basically allowing them to see what it's like to be here in our density from this angle versus looking up from the higher frequencies, the higher dimensions, looking down and seeing what our experience is for ascension. They were actually using my heart space and my throat, because I opened these infinite spaces up to them, to actually see it through me and through everybody else that I connect in with, and through the collective, because this allows them to connect to the collective as well. The hearts of humanity are infinite and carry worlds within worlds. This is the cornerstone of ascension. Ascension occurs as a process. The individual, collective, planet, solar system, galaxy, and the harmonic universe. So everything's going to ascend in that order. Your planet is the final planet for the harmonic ascension. And this means that when Gaia ascends fully, then your solar system, galaxy, in the universe will as well. We are the universal guardians. And he laughs because I was in my head thinking about, the movie
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. And he starts
laughing with you.
Right? And he's laughing and he's like, yep. He's like, yes, we take our duties very seriously. We are many who serve the Protectorate Council of Light. We uphold, this is what they do. We uphold universal law, and we aid, guide, and protect the ascension process in its many paths. And then the lion being came in and he says, greetings. I am Relton of the Gray Gamma Shelfar clan, 9th dimensional grommet refraction. And he was showing me the rainbow colors, and his band, what they call the grommet refraction, is the lavender to silver part of the rainbow. And I guess they identify themselves as their level of ascension is through the color. Yeah.
The frequency. Right? It's frequency. It's color frequency.
Yeah. And that's how he goes, he's from the Vega star cluster, which is what people really know as the Lyra constellation. And he says, we too give many thanks to this host, Anita, for opening her heart and throat spaces to us. We have gained much through this endeavor and have been able to report much to the Protectorate Council. And I thought, I was like, whoa. And then this being Relton gave me the message from the council, from the Protectorate Council of Light. And this is what they want you to know. Gracious greetings to our beloved angelic and matter-informed children. Eons, we have watched and loved you in your pursuit of higher living, which is what they're calling ascension, the pursuit of higher living. Our brethren, Vestus and Relton, have shown us this pursuit through the human perspective, this new information for us. We are humbly thankful. We are observing the density of your planet and your physical bodies from your viewpoints. It is with tremendous pride that we celebrate your glorious journeys. Each one of you is a masterpiece of beauty and form, breathtakingly amazing. First, do not ever lose hope. You are protected and supported by your universe. You are ascending. Do not doubt this. We can see the glow of your souls reaching higher frequencies of love, joy, and truth. These triads of spirit, love, joy, and truth are your foundations to keep moving forward and upward. As you become less dense, and then he laughs because it's also a way of saying that you're not as intelligent, like if you're dense, you become lighter, and then he's laughing because that's also enlightenment. So he's making, he's joking about being dense and being light.
King there. Yeah.
With this light, you will hold more love, joy, and truth. This is ascension. To feel these within your body as your body refines into its lighter construct. Choosing to stay in your body is the path to greater ascension, higher frequencies, and greater knowledge and compassion. Because it's easy, we could leave, or we could try to move and do this outside of our bodies. But he's really saying how important it is that the ascension happen within our physical body. Like, this is important. We are important. This physical body of ours. It's the cornerstone to all of ascension. He says, we are unity. We are all one. Each of us is a vital cell in the body of the all source God. You are a cell. You are God, the whole body. And that was his way of trying to explain what is so difficult to understand about ascension, the unity consciousness. How can I be me? And how could I be everything? How is it all one? And that's how he explained it. Like, you're a cell in the body of God, and you're the entire body of God. They say, this Protectorate Council of Light says, we protect as we watch in awe at you, our light warriors, bringers of ascension. Mm-hmm. Love and blessings to each of you. We have enjoyed connecting with your frequencies. And so that is a council I didn't even know about till recently that is present here, and that's their message to us. So blessings to all of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that message.
That was amazing.
Thank you. I had the shuddering, chills, tears that I'm choking back. So yeah. Beautiful.
I do want to say too that some of these listeners here that are, we love seeing you guys. We love seeing you guys interacting with each other. It's so much fun. But I want to say that there are some of you that's in this chat that are actually on light councils at night, and you're not even aware of it.
Yeah, that's why they're here. That's why they're.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
Yeah, Buffy, that's you. You know, I'm
Becky,
talking.
Yeah,
to you.
I don't have words either. She just has exclamation points. Yeah, I know. I don't want the makeup to run.
And there's several of you here. And I mean, you could be on more than one council.
Yep. And you're working on the ships and you're helping the ascension process in so many different ways out there and you don't even know. And you could be working as you're this body, your avatar inside, you leave your avatar and you sleep and you go in your astral project onto the ships as, Anita, or you can be working in all of your different iterations that are helping the ascension process all at one time, which is even crazier. So what is a light council? Okay, a light council is a council, which is a collective of beings.
Round table.
Like a round table, right? But they are ascended to the point where they no longer need their bodies and they've ascended past their bodies and now they exist as light beings. So, and in a collective, you can't really, like when I connect in with them, I really can't tell them apart because they're so blended and meshed. They're still individual cells. They still have individual personalities, but they blend so well together because they're looking at, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional is what that point when you, in our universe, where you no longer have a body, a physical body. You're now existing in a light body, which is, you've basically, first we go from carbon to crystalline bodies, and then our crystalline bodies then ascend into pure plasma light. And that's, and then there are levels above that, but they're working in their light bodies. And so they're a group of people, beings who are in their light bodies, who collectively work on a mission together. Some are given authority over certain things, like some have authority over, like this particular council has authority over upholding universal law. So if universal law is not being upheld, they're going to go in and act as adjudicators to make sure that it is being upheld. So I hope that helps. And yes, right, Catherine, she is on the Andromedan Council of 12.
Wow.
That's pretty cool
It's
stuff.
very cool to find this stuff out, and not be sort of, institutionalized, even if it's just for a few days or a couple of weeks. They don't know how to deal with that. But
Maribel, you're on a council too.
Can you see which one? Crystal Dragon? She's probably channeling that right now. So we'll see. See if we can get you that, Maribel. And connect in. But we all do, our higher selves are working on so many different levels. And
she's on a Federation of Light.
Federation of Light. Yeah.
oh boy, I got those chills again. Can I tell them, Maribel, how I know you? Like just a one sentence type of a thing? You can answer in the chat, and I won't say anything until I hear from you. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, I have something they might find interesting. That I just want them to know that there are advanced spirits and benevolence and guardian angels that are actually being called in right now during this ascension process to assist. That the humans that are staying, the ones of you that's in your contracts to stay, you're having your bodies adjusted to handle the increase in the vibrational frequency change. So that's what's going on with your bodies right now. I'm sure most of you already know that. But the ones that cannot adjust are the ones that are literally leaving the planet right now. And remember, that was in their contracts. They chose to do it this way. Anita is good at expounding on that, or Chris, either one.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead, Anita. I'm not sure what to say right now.
So we do have we have a contract. We've gone. You can change the contract. Not everything is written into your contract, but almost everything is. And what it is when you're in your soul self, before you incarnate into your avatar, you decide exactly what that life is going to be like. Basically, who you're going to meet, the lessons that you're going to teach yourself, and how other people are going to work with you to teach you those lessons. So in one life, they might be a friend. In another life, they might come across as a villain, but you're all part of the soul group to help each other. So on the soul level, you're all connected at a very high level. And so as you have a contract, you choose how that contract's going to end. What is your choice? You could choose, how are you going to leave your avatar? And some people made the choice that they were not going to follow through with ascension in the body, that they were going to go and help ascension of the planet in the etheric level, in their spirit form, in one of their iterations in that form, or in angelic form. I mean, we all have many of you are probably going to start seeing the angelic part of you. We do have this. Many of you may have felt that, hey, maybe you've looked and you've seen like wings, or felt like you should have wings, or something to that effect. Don't be surprised if that's part of the iteration that comes in. We are known as the angelic human race. So that is a choice that people make before they go into their bodies as to how they're going to help with this process for this life. The real diehard warriors have chosen to stay in their bodies. So I salute you all, because y'all are diehard warriors in your bodies right now.
They're probably dragons.
Hey, not all of us can be dragons.
They're
Yeah,
yes,
probably
we can.
dragons or giants. I'm
Dragons.
just saying, throwing that out there to my dragon team.
So yeah, we have a question. Were these an original contract prior to interference? You talked about soul contracts, which we should do a show on, because it'll help people understand from a higher perspective. When things like what's going on in the world right now and what just happened over the last 3 years, when you look at it from a higher perspective, it's already planned out. Like the souls have made the choice. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And there's nothing.
Okay, if you look at the Palladian material too, which confirmed what I had come through in my BQH session that Crystal Dragon did for me, is that we are from the future, and we came back 26,525 years ago to help with ascension, because there were so many problems with the quote unquote interferences that have been happening with our planet. Our planet,
Yeah, but Anita, we failed. We failed several times. So this time it has to happen.
Yeah. And that was the whole goal. I mean, we had all these fail-safe plans, but we sat down and we planned every single lifetime that we were going to be on planet Earth for 26,525 years. And the same material came through with the Palladians through Michael Love, Melissa, when he talks about how for this planet, you've written all your soul contracts before you even came into incarnation, to be. Right. So you kind of, you can have things interfere with that, and you can change your contract. There's something called like walk-ins, where people can choose to leave earlier than they had planned, and then you get another soul coming into that avatar. So it's a lot of different things that could happen, but most of the times, yeah, it's prior to it's with the idea that we know we're being interfered with in writing out our plan. It's usually with that knowledge of there being interference. I hope that helps the question.
Okay. And he had another one. Let's go to Christopher.
What?
Would you, I would like to ask, would you please read me? I would like to know what you all see about me. Crystal or Anita. I'm not sure who wants to take that.
What do you think about that question, Crystal Dragon?
Well, I know Christopher thinks he's been alone for a very, very long time. And that's because he's a very old soul. He has been here for a very long time. That's why he's here tonight, because he's been led to come to meet us. Anita can probably give him more details.
I don't know. Christopher, I don't know if you have felt very drawn to the Syrians, but I'm feeling really big Syrian energy coming from you. So you might want to look into if that resonates with you. You chose a contract in which you were very much a hermit. So I don't know if that also resonates with you. And now you're choosing to connect in. I don't know what work you've been doing, but you've been raising your frequency. And so now you're finding yourself connecting to new groups of people. That's what I'm getting. So I hope that was helpful. And I hope that helps you. But remember what the message is from the Protectorate Council. You're not alone. You're very much being protected. You're very much loved. And there's no way we couldn't do this by ourselves. It's meant for us to work together as a team. We're all a team working together to do this.
If I could add one more
Christopher-
thing.
Oops.
Sorry. I was just going to say, though, sometimes you just need to ask your guides for help. You know, I mean, if you're just ask them for guidance, they're there for you. We forget sometimes that they're there. You have a team of guides assigned to you, and they're there with you all the time.
Yeah.
I just got to Christopher was a giant. I think there's something going around. Catherine, she wants to talk about giants, but
There you
Christopher
go.
was a giant in another iteration. Maybe that's why he's sent here.
Whose microphone is that? Is that you, Crystal? Over there rearranging the furniture?
Not me.
Someone's scratching around
See,
there.
see, she always picks on the dragon. See, this is how it is.
Chris is a dragon too.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
but you pointed me out. Okay, I heard it. They all heard it. Everybody heard it, right, guys?
I'm just sitting here being quiet. But NM Tumbleweed had a question, and
A little further,
I think we should all talk about this one because it says, are we supposed to be working on our energy or just allow others to assist?
That's a good
So,
question.
Anita, do you want to take a stab at that one, or Crystal?
First off, I would be leery about the whole assist point. Let's just put that into limitation, like boundaries. The biggest thing for us to learn in this process is that we are sovereign beings and that our energy is our energy. And one of the biggest things you learn is to take back your energy from where you've left it, whether you've left it with consent or without consent, to bring it back to you. You should be really careful about who you let into your energy field, because you are your greatest asset in working on yourself and going within. So like doing that work is a good place to start. And you say, yeah, maybe I need some help. You can ask your guides. And if you feel like you need help from another physical being, then, somebody that you trust can help assist you. But really what it comes down to is any work that you do, any healing that you do, it's all through you. Nobody can heal you. They can guide you. They can offer you a way to rethink, or they can redirect energies. But what it really comes down to is you heal yourself, or source. And some of the angelics can come in and they can be a catalyst for your healing, but you're co-creating that healing with them. So you're always part of the process of healing yourself. I personally would say go within, get started, start learning about your energy system, feeling what that feels like. We're all at different places, so that means a lot of different things to all of us. And
you
then
can research.
then check in with people. Yeah,
Find
a lot
out.
of research out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there. So
I would like
you
to
gotta-
say
you gotta
something
do a
about
lot on
that.
your own.
I got my 2 cents over here. Listen, if they're charging you, don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if it's going to cost you, that's not how God source works. He sends you the tools. I mean, we all have Ascension toolboxes on our sites, channels, everything. We don't charge anything for any of our services. because you know what? We're all connected. We're all one. And that's just how we see it. We're just exchanging energy, and we love you guys. You are our brothers and sisters, and we are so blessed to be here to help you guys. We're so happy to meet you. And again, we love watching you guys interact on the channel as we're on here because it just makes our family even feel even closer.
Okay, I've got another question here. Buffy. Hi, Buffy. Is it possible I'm dreaming about alternative timelines? Oh, this is Crystal's favorite topic. Because I used to dream often of the two towns I've grown up in, but they are always in a nighttime setting, so I thought maybe a parallel universe. Crystal.
Absolutely, you are. You are probably jumping timelines. It's really important that you establish to pick the highest timeline. You can actually collapse those other timelines and choose to pull in your fractals into this timeline. And essentially, that is our ultimate goal, is to bring in our higher iterations, which are our other selves that's taking place in future timelines. That's all happening. I kind of look at it like an accordion, and we're pulling in all of those iterations into this one, and we're integrating our other selves. Like you may have been a whale, you could have been a dragon, you could have been a giant, you could be a commander, you could be on a light council, you know, all of these things. And you're literally bringing them all into this body. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes some of the iterations are very, very difficult because they're big energy and you have to bring them in. But when it does happen, you'll feel more whole. You feel bigger is the best way I can explain it. But you are absolutely.
And sometimes the iterations too can be things that you need to know. So it could be a trauma or some form that you learn about your past life that gives you information that you need. So it could be a lot of different things for your iterations, right? When you bring that into yourself. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Crystal Dragon. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
But yeah, I was just thinking that was other things that, because it's so important, and people might say like, well, what does that mean? It means bringing your soul pieces together, becoming bigger inside, learning more. And then Crystal Dragon, how does that feel? Or Chris, how does that feel? Or Melissa, how does that feel when you start bringing those pieces of yourselves together into you?
Well, I just had this happen last week, and I just want to briefly say that Maribel and I were in 4th grade together. We grew up in the Manhattan. It's our city. I'm not there anymore. I was thankfully removed, and I'm out here, you know, Long Island. So she was part of this energy. She said that she was reaching, you know, she was thinking about me for years. And then all of a sudden in this last year, it was almost, you know, it was impossible for her not to reach out. And the minute I saw her message, it was, I think the night before we did the Camelot or the day of, and then I spoke to her afterward. And, you know, it's like, wow, it's a long time since we've spoken. And honestly, she's in a profession that is related to, you know, what we do here. And she's going to do what you did. I feel it coming, Anita, you know, in 1 year's time. And someone else, I think it was Christopher, you know, he woke up a year ago and it's like, zoom, you know, all of a sudden, like, well, all the iterations will come, or, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you don't know the true history, but you know that you don't know the true history of this planet and everything else. You know, we're all kind of piecing things together. So it's a critical time. This year is going to be a very interesting year and a challenging year. So it's interesting that Maribel, you know, she's a key part of things that are happening for me right now. And I mentioned earlier about Anita doing a session with me last week, clearing I need to go back and remove some blocks that are, it's preventing me from utilizing a few of the superpowers. I shut them down when I awoke 13 years ago, the first time, and then 11 years ago. And so that's out of fear. So it was like, what's going on? So we went back, and did some chakra, the root chakra work. And yeah, I got into contact or, experienced something really profound that took me from just being on my own independent level, or just in my environment, or just, I'm online now with you guys. So that's big compared to just doing independent channel paintings for individuals. It's on a larger level now. And I do believe, with some experiences I've had, even in the last week, I feel like it's expanding like very rapidly. So I've been put into contact with a lot of different people. I've got 5 different groups of people in different ways.
Well, what's interesting about that, Melissa, is what you're doing with raising your frequency and doing the work is you're also collapsing those lower timelines where you were at lower frequencies, where you had different things happening in your life. You've collapsed them, and you're putting yourself up on the higher timeline where you have a different soul connection to different, other souls and different situations, because you've raised your frequency and you're putting yourself on a different timeline.
Well, even just overnight, between yesterday and today, a lot of inspirations came in this morning, and it's just it's what's the word? Astounding. And I'll be making some notes and putting some things together, and taking in and planning. I have some ideas about some work that I will be doing in the future. It's tied in with the humanitarian, agenda. I hate that word, but it's tied in with that, and it's like, oh my goodness. So Marimel, it's going to be like a sudden thing. They're all going to come back together. So there's all kinds of stuff going on over here. Violet, is this okay? Oh, Christopher. Okay, wait, before I get to Violet, let me put it out up there. Christopher, is there anything that you know of Sananda's work and the Holy Spirit? Yes, and I don't know, is that a general question? I could talk about the Solar Lords. We could go there. Or Anita, what do you think?
I think it's a huge question. It's probably something that we could do a whole, be part of a whole show. Yeah. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of stuff on your website already about Sananda, Yeshua and Josias, and looking at the silver ray and connecting in with what that is as a Holy Spirit. So I would say yes, but I would also say you maybe start looking for how spirit will move you to find that information. Wings of Light, great place to start.
Yeah,
that's Christopher. I like to recommend you go to Ascension Superpowers, which is Commander_Guardian. We just did an activation for Lyran, the lions, the big cats. Since we did that activation, I actually have Josias, a huge cat, big, huge lion that now is my companion and goes everywhere with me. He even sleeps on the bottom of my bed at night. So I'm just recommending, there's hidden light codes in that. There's light language. There's light linguistics. All of these activations are packed with information that you don't hear, but your soul knows exactly what they are.
Okay. Violet, I don't think I am part of a dragon family, but I do see dragon shapes, various sizes, shapes, and mini ones. But you don't think you belong? But I can see the shapes clearly, and at times in the skies. Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in the skies. What do you think? Do you think she's a dragon?
One of the big things that people don't realize are the dragons are doing so much work for our planet and throughout the whole universe. They're grid workers. They work on different levels of gridding, and those would be sort of the energetic. It almost looks like a graph. You can see graph paper of energy. It's one of the ways that energy moves in a contained way throughout the structure of the universe. And they grid, and they've been helping clear and clean the grids that were inverted and made toxic by the not so nice agenda that we know of that is present or has been present on our planet for a while. You'll see them in the skies. I see them all the time in the skies as well. And I know Chris and Crystal Dragon actually had them as part of their iterations. Maybe you could, say more about that. Either one of you?
Quiet,
I
usually
know.
they got, like,
I
flames
know.
flying
I
around.
like listening.
You guys are quiet tonight.
Well, you're a dragon, so talk a little bit about gridding.
Dragon. Yeah.
The
Okay,
grid
so
master.
oh, you're funny. Okay, so what we do is, as dragons, we grid. What does that mean? We actually, I'm trying to think how to put it in terms that you understand. It's done around the new Earth, and we're gridding in the Earth for Gaia. And it like Anita said, it's kind of like a graph, but it's not. It's we do it at night when everyone's sleeping. So everyone has different teams, even though we're all essentially on the same team. But we work in. It's funny because I did a BQH for a young lady, and she was describing this in such great detail about the gridding and how there were teams of threes, and she could actually see the chakra lights in the teams and how they were working to do this gridding, and they were filling the cracks of the blueprint grid around the earth with rose quartz and plasma, and actually filling these lines to restore the blueprint grid of the earth. And you got to understand, the earth is a third dimensional, so actually the first and second and third dimension, and it is transferring. We are closer to the fourth dimension right now because the third's pretty much, the matrix is falling apart left and right. So as the earth is changing into the fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, the chakras, it actually has chakras too. So that's why your bodies are changing your chakras, because obviously a third dimensional being cannot live on a fifth dimensional earth. And that's why all of this stuff is happening. I know I was talking to Anita earlier today about how my lower chakras, my first, second, and third chakras have actually have connected. I don't feel them anymore. They're in my fourth, fifth, and sixth now. So they're actually moving up into my celestial body. And this is very normal. But this goes along with the gridding and the dragons and everything that's going on, because everything's done on ley lines. Ley lines are key. And there's these grids called dragon lines too. And basically the dragons are restoring and repairing. And I don't remember, Anita, which portal was it that we actually went and we've sent dragon teams in consciously and went. Remember, we saw you did the reading.
We had to go through the sun because they were gridding for the place where the new ascended earth is going to be actually another place in the connection of the Pleiades and the Andromedan system. And they actually have the gridding all done and ready for Earth to settle, the new Earth to settle into. And there was an accident with the plasma grid. So we sent teams in to help with that. We had gotten
some dragons got injured really bad. And we knew that it was going to happen. So one of my gifts is I can transport a team through time. Perfectly normal, right? So I would jump the whole team of dragons through the sun portal, and we met up on the other side, and were able to consciously intercept and change the time. Otherwise, our ascension would have taken longer.
Right, because it would have messed up the time frame of us being able to connect in, because it would have it was really disastrous, the situation. So, but we did that consciously. And that was what was really interesting, is hearing that other people are working consciously doing this sort of stuff too. We're not alone. I mean, there's so many people working, but where do you go to talk to? I mean, who do you go? And, everybody feels maybe in many ways alone because you don't know who you can talk to about this, but you're not alone. We're here.
Okay. So Catherine is asking, I'm thinking that we, the light workers and star seeds, as we awaken maybe what they call the solar flash. It's not solar. It is solar. It's solar. The soul, S-O-L and S-O-U-L, there is a relationship there. And I only know this because of coming across the winds of truth and learning about the solar lords, who they are, how it works. And it does have to do with the hierarchy that we talked about with Anita. You actually, in the, you actually referred to it right after I said there's a hierarchy. You enumerated it all the way down, from the top to the bottom. But there's basically the same structure for every sun, and there are 12 solar lords, and they are brothers and sisters. And they have different light frequencies associated with them according to this doctrine. And it comes from Archangel Michael. It was channeled in 1939 to 1942 in Glastonbury, England, which is the heart chakra of the world. You can look at the videos I just put up. They just did a chakra video, but on my website, wingsoflight.net, there's a whole section on the Earth's chakras and ley lines, the energy centers of the Earth. But those films, I did videos on some of the chapters in the book, really give you the structure of and the frequency of each of the solar lords and the identity. One of them is, we know him as Jesus Christ. He's the first. Silver ray, Actrum ray. Then we have Archangel Michael is the 12th, and really he's in charge of this entire universe. And we have King Arthur, who is on the amethyst ray, and I have an iteration that is on that. I have at least one and possibly two that I've met, or not met, but Anita's worked on it with me. So, I'm very close to that whole, in fact, we have a whole episode on a live about the fall of Camelot. So that talks a lot about Lord Ahura is his name. And there are videos on the channel here you can go back into. So there's a whole bunch of information on the solar lords. And yes, we're ascending. Our light frequencies are becoming activated because of the proton belt the photon belt that we're going through. But the sun is giving off the light codes. We're changing our frequencies. Those of us that are staying, we have to go from carbon to crystalline, which has been talked about like since 2012, at least. Maybe before then they were talking about it. There are a lot of divine channelings that happened in the 20th century that are amazing. So it's not a new thing. So yes, we're awakening, and it's a soul contract how we're going to be doing it. And we are guided by the solar lords. That's my belief. I believe this channeling is authentic, and it's really influenced. It actually brought my whole channel onto YouTube. So I hope that answers, and somebody else jump in and add to that before we go on to the next question.
No, I think that's great. I don't have anything to add. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I might add
Dragon Lady?
something. So
Okay.
the only thing I want to say that is, one person having a vibration of of love and light is impacting, can impact up to 750,000 people.
Chris, your microphone is crunching and crackling.
All right, I'll stop then. But
Oh, you can answer in the comments. I don't know if that wasn't happening before. That wasn't happening before. Okay, I'm sorry. She'll answer you.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that how much of an effect we have on people is one light worker can affect 750,000 others. We can, by your frequency, one person alone, you can affect the frequency in the light and bring up and raise the frequency of 750,000 people around you. So it's quite intense.
What's the did you say it was 100 miles? A radius of 100 miles or a diameter?
That's the normal. What I was reading, and I checked them because I had asked my guides too, and they're like, the normal radius for someone who is awakened and is consciously working, their light is about 100 feet. I mean, 100 miles around them. They affect 100 miles around them. The more you raise your frequency, the larger the radius goes.
And that's exactly why the light workers are gridded around the earth like they are.
Yeah. We're not all together in one place because we need to spread out around Gaia to help, because that helps other people awaken as well. It also helps balance the light around the globe, and it also affects the gridding, and what the dragons are doing with the gridding, what we're doing as dragons gridding. So
I guess it's a follow-up. She's asking about the 144,000. I just want to jump on that for a second because I used to get confused. How can there be 144,000 light workers when there's like 8 billion people on the planet or whatever? How does that work out mathematically? Well, it doesn't. I believe the 144 is related to the 12-stranded DNA. So when we get to our maximum number of iterations, it's either 144 or for a certain series of dimensions, it maxes out at 144. Then there might be a whole nother cycle after that because that's what happens with the universes. The harmonic universes, right? The first 3 are harmonic universes number 1. We're going into harmonic universe number 2. That's the next 3. That's 4, 5, and 6 dimensions, or densities rather. So you want to answer that one, Anita or Dragons? Is that right?
you guys,
Does that agree with what your take is on it?
I do know that it goes, the DNA, when the DNA activates, and that's why it's so important for people to be working on their own ascension. You have to do the work yourself, because depending on how much you've done and what you're doing with yourself will determine how many strands of DNA activates. The base is going to be 12 strands, but you can activate up to 144,000 strands of DNA. It's your choice. That's what I know.
Yeah. But that's not for us to worry about right now. It's just getting these basic 12 together. But I mean, Anita, we talked about this, how it never stops. It never ends, no matter what dimension you're going into. There's always more room for correction and expansion.
well, just like I introduced to you, Bear and Lion, Vestus and Relton, they are both of them working in that Council of Light for protectors.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on their ascension because they're continuing to ascend. Like, this work is part of what they're doing for their ascension work, to raise their frequency, for them to learn more, to learn to be more compassionate, to learn to be closer in unity with Source, to learn to work together, to be one, to ascend. So it's never, I mean, as soon as you go up,
it's the spiral.
And then the descension starts and you spiral down, and then it goes, it's this continuum of ascension and descension that our souls go through, because we're constantly wanting to have more experience and learn more things. So it doesn't stop.
Okay. I don't know if we have any more questions. We have a statement from Buffy. She watched them. Thank you. It was the same thing what happened with the Pleiadian materials from Michael Love. The minute I download, like it almost happened before I even downloaded it. It was like videos. It was such powerful inspiration. So that's what brought you to them. And that stuff.
Well, this is the work that brought I know Crystal Dragon Chris and me to you, was the work that you were doing with the solar planes, because when we saw that, we were just blown away. Same thing. It just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I just, in all of us envisioning it, and we're like, we have to talk to this Melissa girl. And here we are.
Yeah, that's how I forgot. I forgot to, it's only 150,000 years ago.
That's what it feels like. I know. With time speeding up, it feels like,
right.
4 years ago we met.
It's really, really compressed, or whatever. You did say something about that before, how things feel like they're going faster.
Yeah, Crystal Dragon was talking about that, how when you raise your frequency, time goes more quickly.
Yeah.
Plus, they've also done more work on speeding up time for this sector of our solar system to help with the ascension process. It's interesting. Christopher has an interesting question. He goes, do you consider the Nanahini as giants? And I do have some information about humanity. We actually are puny compared to what we're supposed to be by our DNA. If our DNA were totally intact and we lived in an environment that was uplifting and nourishing, without toxins, with real live food, we would be, on average, men averaged 7 feet, women 6 feet, and that was even before that. There were different levels of like what happened with our DNA. We were very, very tall, and our world has been terraformed, and our food has been changed so that we are less. So I think it's really interesting when you go back and you look at like past civilizations and everything. You look at some of the architecture. You notice how it looks like it's made for giants. Well, there were giants, but there were also humans that were absolutely so much taller and larger than we are now. It's interesting to see how things have been modified.
Well, Yanini, Lemuria, they talked about it. I think that the women, and they were also like the first civilization, and they were another dimension. It was like Earth in another dimension. I think it was fifth, or could have been. I think it was about 8 feet tall women, and the men were maybe taller than that, and our eyes were a little different. It gets into the details. You consider, that was. I don't know what that Yanihi. Are you talking about the Lemurian? I don't know if he's talking about Yanini. Similar. I hadn't heard of that before I found the Solar Lords, the Winds of Truth. So, if they're, but they were in another dimension, so you're not going to find, people have these ideas about Tartaria, and there were other Earths where some of these things were happening. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Does anybody want to sum up here? Any, ending? Look at a little agenda thing here. Q&A. Well, we did that. I guess just to come back to where we are today and, what's in front of us. We can't stress it enough. If you want to be doing the work, the first thing is be mindful of where you're putting your attention. Are you putting it towards something that brings you down, like that solar plexus? I mean, I went through periods in my life where I had that really, really that sinking feeling. Are you, putting your attention on those sorts of, media or people in your life? Or are you seeking like what you're doing here, raising, discussing, researching? That's very important. The food, the water, your gratitude, live in gratitude, have conversations with your divine guiding team, because each one of us has them. We just don't ask. The Bible said, ask and you shall receive. You must ask. They can't they can't control your life because we have free will. So it has to come from our desire. We have to ask them for help. And you will get it. And especially these days, it's almost like it'll happen before you ask for it. They're already, no, don't you, what about this thing? What about that? You get these ideas, trying to help you as much as possible. So try to be open to that. And we're in for a bumpy ride, I think, in a good way, because with no pain, there's no gain. And so being lighthouses or lighthouses in the making, be aware of what's going on around you, but don't involve your emotions in it. Try to step back from it. Build the boundary. Protect yourself. Protect your emotions, your mentality, your spirituality. Nurture your spirituality, and everything else will fall into place. I'll give you some strength. All right. I appreciate what time we went to 2 hours tonight. Really appreciate all of you participating. I hope that you got enough to take away for tonight, and keep coming back to the channels, because we're growing. The material keeps coming, and hopefully Anita and I and the team, there'll be more material, galactic material for sure. We're going to be expanding our horizons. I think some of them broke through tonight. I don't know if they're the ones that are, coming in the near future, but it's very interesting information. We're grateful also to the team, the guidance teams, all of them, Ashtar, Iltrin, and all of them. I really appreciate it. I love doing those videos, and the audience loves them too. And so thanks, Crystal, for sharing that with us here. I know you're doing it over there too, but
Well, it's nice because we do it and we just share it, because it belongs to the people. That's how we look at it. So it's all of ours.
Right. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Thanks
you for joining us, everyone. Love you all.
Thank you. I'm going to end the broadcast. And peace to everyone. Okay.